I'm fired up.
What are you fired up about, Harb?
Joel Embiid said it best 5 years ago, and this quote has aged better than any red wine you could ever dream of. This is not a rivalry. They always kick our ass. And it rings as true today on Mother's Day 2023 as it did back in 2018. The Boston Celtics are not worried about the Philadelphia 76ers or that bullshit MVP trophy that he got that he should not have gotten.
True.
Put together 3 playoff frauds in Doc Rivers, who has made a career off of 1 title with the Boston Big Three, James Harden, who is known to be a regular season warrior, and Joel Embiid, who's probably the worst regular season warrior of today's NBA. You're going to get regular season warrior results. They're going to fade in the playoffs, and they're just not going to get past real NBA teams. And here we are. Celtics Heat for the 3rd time in 4 years.
So I haven't really kept up a whole lot with the NBA playoffs. Y'all know my stance on the NBA, but I do like the Celtics. So glad to see they won. But what seed is the Heat? What seed is the Celtics as we head into the Eastern Conference Finals? Like, where's this headed?
The Celtics are the 2 seed in the East, and the Miami Heat were actually the 8 seed. They toppled over the Milwaukee Bucks in 5 games, which was incredible. And we have gotten through Atlanta and Philadelphia to get here. Miami just beat the Knicks. That was a fun little series if you like quote unquote old school basketball.
Yeah.
And out west we've got the Lakers and the Nuggets. Everybody's gonna have their different opinions on that one, but the Nuggets are the 1 seed, had the best record out in the West, and Lakers ended up with the 7 seed, which about 3 or 4 weeks before the playoffs started, they were the 13 seed. So
I was about to say, I think one week we recorded, you said or somebody said they may not even make the play-in game.
Yeah.
After the trade deadline, they were about 3 or 4 games out of the play-in.
Jeez.
And after the trade deadline stuff, they went like 5-5, and everybody's like, "Well, this is a dud." And then all of a sudden, started clicking. Here they are. They're playing great basketball. They just knocked off Golden State in 6.
Yep.
I think everybody's praying to God that little Warriors reign is over. But yeah, I'm focused on Miami. This is a year of redemption. We got very close last year. We were 2 games away. Fired up. And I know it's going to be a dogfight. It's going bare minimum 6 games against Miami, probably going 7. Miami's gritty. They're fun. Coach Spo's top 2 or 3 coach in the league. Jimmy Butler's a dog. We're going to have a good time. I do think we pull it out, though, and go back-to-back finals. So
for those listening to the podcast instead of watching, shame on you, but we appreciate you listening. Big Montana's got a cool little outfit on tonight. Why don't you tell us about it? The Celtics are the balls.
I got my retro Celtic shirt from the 80s. I'm sure a lot of people have seen the Instagram video of the Boston guy at the bar with that quote. I got my Emerald Club visor on, ready to go. Got my shades on. We're going down the South Beach, and we're going to decimate the Miami Heat. I can't wait to see a whiteout. Can't wait to see their fans leave in the 4th quarter with 5 minutes to go.
Well, they're not going to get there until the 2nd quarter.
I heard that.
They're like LA.
I will say I do love their coach. I think he's really, really good. He seemed to be able to win in the post LeBron era, which is great.
I was gonna ask, is he still chumming it up with Butch Jones?
I don't know. That was kind of a weird thing. Did you all know that he's Asian?
I did not. I
So,
saw
yeah,
that.
I learned that not too long ago, and it threw
was
me off
like-
because I always thought he
Yeah.
was of Latino descent.
yeah, I thought he was Latino, but like it said something about Asian. I mean, they're trying to make a story out of nothing, I think. But they were talking about his Asian heritage and if he had ever been discriminated against, especially in the NBA. And I'm like, okay, but I was blown away by the fact that he was Asian. I really thought that he was, Filipino or some type of Latin descent. But I really enjoy the NBA. I've always been a Celtics fan since I was a little boy. My uncles were big Celtics fans because of Larry Bird, and I got to watch back when people used to tape games and on VHS tapes. When I go to my grandparents' house, I would throw in Larry Bird Magic, Larry Bird Pistons, Larry Bird Bulls, Larry Bird whatever games they had taped, and they had them cataloged. It was really kind of nerdy, but really, really cool to be able to, because I was really young when that stuff was going on. So it was nice to be able to relive that. But yeah, nice question. What's your issue? Is your issue against the NBA like political?
Somewhat, yes. And I just don't think it's very good basketball.
Right. I feel that way with all like pro sports right now. I feel like the NFL's doing their part, and I feel like the NBA is the worst for it. But I feel like the MLB has done enough too, especially with what they did to the Braves.
I think since COVID hit, I've always been a big baseball fan, but I've watched, of course, not having it on my TV has been a problem too. But I've watched less baseball over the last 2 or 3 years than I ever have. But if they just leave the politics out of it, and also I don't get in the NBA why they sit out all the time. I can't wrap my mind around that. I just think back to when I was growing up.
That's the number one thing that bothers me. Sorry. Yeah, I was just.
No, you're good. I was just thinking back, like when I was growing up, guys didn't miss games, and they probably wore themselves out quicker. Yes. And these guys may be extending their careers. I mean, good grief, Chris Paul is still playing. I mean,
yeah.
But still, I just don't. I watched the NHL the other night.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been pretty good. I don't know the rules of hockey.
I will say this, like, the NBA playoffs are totally different basketball than the NBA regular season. It's way more defense. It's way more drama. It's actually very good high level basketball. But I will agree with you. The only time, I'll watch, when the Celtics are on TNT, I watch. I don't have any type of access to some channel that they play on all the time. I really don't start watching NBA. I really don't start watching basketball, period, until about Christmas, except for the Vols, of course. But most of the time, their games are before Christmas or not any count for the most part, except for their little invitational games for the most part. But yeah, it's been fun. It feels good to win. Hopefully they can make it to the finals. I think they will. I think the NBA is desperate for a good finals, and I think they're doing whatever they can possibly do to get the Lakers Celtics in the championship game just for ratings alone. Every 50-year-old man will be tuning in, reliving their childhood. But they're pushing that narrative is that the Sixers had no chance because it was already predetermined. The Sixers got their ass kicked today. They scored 10 points in the third quarter in a game 7. They got beat like a redheaded stepchild. There was nothing about that was anything but Boston just absolutely taking them behind the woodshed and telling them who their daddy was again.
Here's one for you, Nace. Two things. One, if Tatum doesn't go nuclear in the last 3 minutes, the series is over 3 days ago. Like if he don't, because he shit the bed and then made everything right in the fourth quarter in Game 6. If he don't do that, We quite possibly and probably do lose game 6, and it's over. Secondly, the Philadelphia 76ers got decimated over the last 5 quarters of basketball that they played this season. Here's a stat for you. Jason Tatum, first of all, set an NBA playoff record with most points in a game 7 today. He had 51, a record that got set 2 weeks ago by Steph Curry, funny enough. But tonight, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum combined for 76 points. The Philadelphia 76ers scored 88.
Jeez.
Wow.
And in the press conference afterwards, Joel Embiid said, me and James, talking about James Harden, me and James can't do it all on our own.
Whew.
He said, we need other guys to step up. Okay. And on surface level, fair statement. Well, let's just look at the numbers while we're here. Where is it? You may think that Joel Embiid led the Sixers in scoring after saying that. He did not. He had 15 points on 5 of 18 shooting for a center. 8 rebounds. James Harden, who the guy that he said carries all the load after him, had 9 points on 3 of 11 shooting. Also, James Harden did not score a point in the fourth quarter in games 5, 6, or 7. VFL Tobias Harris did his part, led the team in scoring, 19 points, 7 of 13 from the field. He had a solid game.
I was going to say he had a good game.
Yeah, he had a very solid game. But yeah, Embiid thinks that him and Harden combining for 24 points is doing everything. But that guy won MVP over Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, I saw a tweet right before we started recording that Embiid won the MVP, and there was all that drama involved with Kendrick Perkins saying that the voters were racist, and that was maybe a reason that he won it. And it looks even worse after today in his performance in a game 7. So yeah,
I don't understand why they don't wait till after the playoffs to like name the MVP for reasons like this.
No sport does. I don't know why.
No sport does. Yeah,
it makes no sense.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand. Like, your moments that you're remembered by happen in the postseason.
Well,
right?
I think they look at it as it's season to start of the season, into the season, and the playoffs. I mean, you would be possibly excluding a player that may not be in the playoffs at that point if you did that. I mean, you could still put them in, but I think it's a regular season award.
If you're truly the most valuable player, your team's going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Whether they sneak in or you're on the best team.
Yeah. Most of the time, you rarely see a player win that type of an award in any sport and his team. We talked about the Heisman Trophy on here before, about Johnny Majors not winning it, and Paul Hornung won it for Notre Dame, and they were 2-8 or something like that. I mean, you rarely, if ever, see something like that happen.
The only sport that's acceptable is baseball, like Ohtani last year.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, it wasn't close, but the Angels were dog shit.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, clearly he's the best player in the game. So that's
yeah. It's crazy that he's that much ahead of Mike Trout.
And Mike Trout is very good. I mean,
yeah.
Until Ohtani came along, he was considered the best player in the game. I mean, injuries have kind of slowed him just a tad, but he's still above average of everybody else. So you're right. That's crazy. So this is Mother's Day. We're recording this on Mother's Day, Sunday night. Happy Mother's Day. If you're a mother out there listening to the show, happy Mother's Day. It was funny. We were last night. I watched Wedding Crashers, and in Wedding Crashers, crab cakes and football. That's what Maryland does. Well, I walk into my parents this afternoon to eat lunch, and I said, "Hey, what are we having for lunch today?" My dad said, "Oh, we're having crab cakes." I just thought that was So after we ate crab cakes, Dad and I, while my mom piddled around on her computer, we watched Tennessee baseball, who got pounded, and NASCAR. So crab cakes, NASCAR, Tennessee baseball. That's what mascot does. Sometimes. No, they were good crab cakes, though. They were phenomenal. Phenomenal.
We had burgers from A&B Distributors. They were delicious.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you have to eat today, Harb? What'd you cook Mama Harb today?
We actually had some barbecue. Mom actually put the team on her back and cooked for Mama. So
no days off. No days off.
Absolutely no days off. We had some pulled pork, some ribs, all the fixings, potato salad, green beans. You know the drill. It was incredible. And if y'all's family is anything like mine, I'm sure they're very similar. When you have a gathering for 10 to 12 people, they cook for 45. Exactly. And you just eat it for a week after that until you get absolutely tired of it. But yeah, we had a good day today. Hope y'all did the same.
Speaking of good days, we had a good day Saturday. Tennessee softball follows up their regular season championship, takes down the Lady Gamecocks 3-1 to win the SEC tournament championship. And so tonight they announced the NCAA tournament for women's softball. Tennessee comes in as the number 4 national seed, and they'll host a regional in Knoxville featuring Indiana, Louisville, and Northern Kentucky. And there's a lot of good. If you got to watch the selection show, Beth Mowens, who's awful. She's a terrible announcer. But she said there's going to be a lot of swingers in Knoxville this weekend. And also a lot of tongue wagging. I don't know what is going through her mind right now.
Damn, I'm going to have to get to Knoxville this weekend.
Might have to leave Strawberry Plains and head west.
I'm going to have to head down 11A and get busy.
Well, I'm trying to pull the field up here. I'm assuming Oklahoma. I only saw the Tennessee regional be announced.
Oklahoma's one.
I mean, they're far and away that have to be the one.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, that's what it doesn't matter what everybody else is doing. All that matters, the Lady Vols are hosting Indiana, Louisville, Northern Kentucky. It's double elimination, 4-team tournament here in Knoxville. Win, survive, and advance and they'll host a super regional here in Knoxville. They're one of the top 8 seeds, so they'll host. So, Lady Vols, I don't know if you were watching the Vols get their hind ends spanked this afternoon, but at one point,
watched a little bit of it. Yeah,
I can't remember who was batting, but I kept hearing a standing ovation going on. It was before the weather delay. I was like, what in the world is everybody clapping about? Well, they zoomed out, and the Lady Vols softball team was walking around the concourse of Lindsey Nelson with the SEC championship trophy.
Nice.
I don't know they can beat Oklahoma if they were to get to that point at some point. They got to get to Oklahoma City first. But Oklahoma has won like 48 games in a row or something like that. It's kind of crazy, incredible. But Lady Vols got a shot. They got a pretty deep pitching staff. If one of those ladies is off one night, they can pull another one out there. They've actually got about 3 of them. I don't know how much Pickens is actually going to pitch in the postseason since she's a freshman, but I don't know. It'll be exciting to see. I think they've got a legit shot to go to Oklahoma City and make some noise out there and maybe win this thing. I mean, top 4 seeds, nothing to scoff at, and they've been from start to finish. They were clearly the best team in the SEC all year long, and we'll see where they stack up nationally. Hopefully.
Did you say Northern Kentucky was in our regional?
They are.
Trivia question without looking at it. What is the name of their mascot?
The Norse.
Yes, correct. Good on you. I learned that in March Madness this year.
Yes.
I didn't
I
even
learned
know
it.
Northern
I learned
Kentucky.
it a few years ago. Who was their coach? He's at somewhere else now.
Oh, hell, I have no idea.
It was the guy that went
What
to
the
Louisville that
Illinois?
got fired.
Oh.
I think that was him.
Uh.
Because they were in the
What's a
tournament a
North?
few years ago. Anyway. Yeah, the Norse, the Hoosiers, and the Cardinals. Or the Cardinal, whatever they are.
Here's my take on Lady Vols, though, real quick. That game on Friday against Alabama was very, very, very important. Obviously, I mean, you're in tournament play, so if you lose, you're out. But they got up big. Bama comes back looking like what?
We were
Right, or did I
down
get that
big.
back?
You
Yeah,
got
I got that
backwards.
back.
We were down 4-0.
I was thinking of the baseball game the other night.
Oh,
My bad. But yeah, you come back like just gritty as hell. Like it's gritty. Everybody knows you're talented. Everybody knows you're good. But when you can combine that with gritty and that too dumb to lose or I ain't giving up top deal, however you want to look at it, that's huge going in. And I don't care if it's Oklahoma or whoever. If you have all three of those, you can beat anybody. And that was really cool to see because I've watched a decent amount of them, but I watched that whole game and that shit was absolutely electrifying. That was some of the most fun I had watching Tennessee sports all year was Friday or whenever it was. But that was awesome. Good on the ladies. Brought some hardware back to Knoxville. Now we're on the road to bring back some bigger hardware.
2 reasons that game was really good the other night. One, it's Alabama, and I don't know if you all have noticed, but we're killing those guys right now. Anytime we play them, we're winning right now. That has not been the case the last decade plus. I'm not talking about just football. I'm talking about basketball, softball, volleyball, tennis, whatever it may be. You go and somebody posted that on Twitter sometime over the weekend. The last like 3 or 4 years, we've rarely lost to Alabama in a sport, but not counting football. I don't know where that's come from and what's changed there. I think it's a little attitude on our end, but also I thought it was fitting that Tennessee won that game because one of their better players and whose sister played for UT, Allie Shipman, transferred to Alabama, and we knocked them out of the SEC tournament. I know they're still going to make the NCAA tournament, but I just thought that was fitting that she transferred to Alabama, who Alabama's always had a really good softball program. And there's people around here that love Alabama softball. It's like people around here that love Florida football. It just blows my mind. But
I saw this thing about that girl that transferred to Bama, and somebody quote tweeted it on Twitter and called her Henrietta To'o.
Yes, I saw.
What about old girls third out in the championship game when she caught the ball right back to her, then spiked it, and then spiked her mask.
It was great.
Throwing that big ass around, just celebrating. It was beautiful.
Dumpies, big dumpers only.
I tell you what, she's got a big old station wagon rear end on her.
Ooh, station wagon.
Yep, Clark Griswold style.
She can pitch it, can't she?
Got a back hatch, that's for sure.
Well, just another reason to watch. Another reason to watch the Lady Vols.
You gotta pay attention.
I'm a big oh God, I forgot her name already. Cameron Pickens or Karen Pickens or whatever. But I meant to bring this up, Big Montana, because you tweeted about it. And I was actually, before you tweeted it, I was actually thinking about it. And I need to go back and find which episode. It was last summer or fall or something when I started dogging Karen Weekly, and then everybody else chimed in too. And I mean, seriously, like I dogged her pretty good last year when they got beat in the they lost in the regionals in Knoxville, didn't even make it to the super regionals. And I was like, what is this? I mean, they have a great program. They're nationally ranked every year. They're going to go to the NCAA tournament every year. They're going to compete for the SEC, but they just had been kind of floating around for the last few years, not doing much. And then here they are this year. They're one of the top 4 teams in the country. So it's like we always tell our buddy Cruz, he always picks a player out and dogs him for basketball, baseball, football, whoever. I'm gonna start dogging these coaches, like you said on Twitter. Like we need to. Next up is Heupel, Barnes,
Apple
Vitello.
sucks. Apple sucks. Barnes sucks. Vitello sucks. They'll never do shit.
There you go. We'll
The
save
energy's out there.
the baseball, the Diamond Vols. I'm gonna start half glass full here. 2 out of 3 against the Wildcats. Back to the mines. One Friday night, one Saturday afternoon. Got a little dicey Saturday afternoon. Some bullpen issues, but nonetheless held on. Got the series win. They're now. And they got beat on Sunday 10-0. I was never really that game was kind of weird because they fell behind early. Then there was like an hour and a half plus rain delay, lightning delay. Never rained in Mascot. The sun was out all day, but I got home a little bit ago and there was water in the ditches everywhere.
It poured. It poured at my house.
See, Strong Road water. Didn't get anything.
Oh, really?
Crazy.
Oh no, we were out, grilling and stuff, and I mean it rained hard, like sideways for about 20 minutes, and it just cut off.
Wow. Yeah, I got back to Straw Plains, and
the
gullies were full of water. Yeah. But they came back and was just never really in that game, and it was just one of those. I'm not worried about it. Your goal is to win a series, and they did that. They're 14-13 in the conference. They're still going to be a game behind Kentucky in the standings, but we got one series left at South Carolina this weekend. I think Tennessee's just 2 or 3 games behind South Carolina, so they could theoretically switch places with the Gamecocks this weekend, but we'll see. They've not been good on the road. They've only won twice on the road all year long. That's a challenge. That's one reason I think they won't host a regional in Knoxville unless they go down to South Carolina and win 2 out of 3 this weekend. That might change things. That puts them at 16 wins. They'd be 16-14 in the conference. They've got a pretty good RPI, strength of schedule, but I don't know. We'll see. They need to go down and win this series. But did you all watch any this weekend? Any thoughts on the Diamond Vols?
Yeah, I watched every game. I didn't watch the rest of today's game after the rain delay. I kept up with it on my phone, but I was watching Boston. Friday and Saturday, I mean, we were just kind of doing the same things we always did, hitting the ball, whatever. Today, you're right. Today was very weird. I mean, we left 16 guys on base, 11 in scoring position. I don't know. Those things are going to happen for sure. But it was a strange game. We need to go and win this series against South Carolina to prove we can win some games on the road and to give ourselves a little bit of confidence going into the postseason. Now, I think we need to have a good showing in Hoover also. I think that needs to happen. But, I mean, I think we're still right there where we need to be. Well, everything's in front of us, that's for sure. But today wasn't great, that's for sure.
Yeah, today was a stinker. Just to be honest with you, that was the only game that I got to watch this weekend. We had the baseball game on the laptop, and me and Mom was watching the Celtics. But yeah, just looked flat, especially after the delay. But from what I've gathered, Friday, Saturday looked really good. Looked normal per se. But just backing up what Montana said, like get 2 out of 3 in South Carolina just to prove that you can beat a quality opponent away from Knoxville. And I agree. I think we do need a good showing in Hoover. Not saying we absolutely have to go out and win the whole damn thing. I mean, obviously that'd be cool, but win a few games, get to maybe the semis or what have you. Just get some momentum rolling before you hit the do or die portion. So yeah, get 2 out of 3, make some noise in the SEC tournament, and then we'll go from there.
Big Montana, you went to a big UT Vol Shop sale this weekend. How'd that go?
So yeah, I saw on Instagram or somewhere they're having the Vol Shop sidewalk sale, whatever. The rules are it's $50 for a bag, and you put whatever in the bag you want, and whatever fits in the bag, it's $50. So you could literally put, 50 t-shirts in there if you wanted to, right, for $50. They promoted the crap out of this, and I went down there Saturday morning, and I was probably, and I've done this several times. Like I've done the ones that the football team puts on. They do it in the Haslam practice facility. You basically go in there and they have everything sorted by size, and like it'll say men's, women's, kids, or not kids, but some kids, and they'll have like duffel bags and helmets, and you can buy shoulder pads and jerseys. It's basically just like whatever you want. And like they give you a list of stuff before that says like what everything costs. Hoodies are $25, polos are 20, t-shirts are 10, whatever. So I've done this several times, so I'm kind of familiar with it. But this one was in the University Commons building, or the UC, whatever you want to call it. And it was basically in a room the size of a double wide trailer. And there was probably 4,000, 5,000 people down there. I was reading on Twitter that a guy got there at 6:50 in the morning. He was like 50th in line. So people were there for it, and people thought that it was going to be ball shop items, Tennessee traditions, all this fun stuff, polos. They didn't know it was a surplus of athletic gear from the football team. So of course, I was later on or whatever, but the cool thing they had was shoes. But they messed up by not limiting people, one pair of shoes or two pair of shoes or one bag. So the first 50 people that went in there literally got like 5 bags full of clothes and all kinds of stuff, like 20 pairs of shoes for $20 a piece, basically to resell or, for Christmas gifts or whatever. But it really screwed the people that were behind me, because my group was kind of the last group of people that even got anything. So some people stood in line from 9, 10 o'clock until, 12 o'clock and didn't get crap. So Vol Shop kind of dropped the ball on that. But, could have been, digging a ditch, that's for sure. But it was wild to see that many Tennessee fans, though, there for something that wasn't really sports related. But we always show up. That's for sure.
That's what I didn't know that was going on, and I saw Mark Nagy posted on Twitter, or he retweeted it, I guess. And there was a line, and I couldn't even see, I could not tell where it was. When they spanned out, I was like, is that over at the Haslam building? I was like, what is going on? What are people lined up for? Yeah. And he finally responded and told me, and I'd found out in between then, but I had no idea that was going on. But that, like, to fall back, that one they have at the football complex, the one time I went, I didn't get to go this past year, but it was pretty cool. I got a polo and some shorts out of it, and it was pretty awesome.
Well, the biggest problem was at that, they literally let everybody go in at the same time. So literally 2,000 people are in there. This was like 15 people at a time.
Yeah.
And when I tell you it was the size of your living room, it was the size of your living room. Like, and it had tables and stuff, and like nothing was sorted really. There were just boxes just crap laying everywhere. And I don't know. It definitely, they should have had it outside, what they should have done. But I know weather and stuff. Yeah. They should have had it in TBA or something like that. But it was kind of a fumble by the Vol Shop, that's for sure. But they had like UT football camp 2021 shirts. They had like 900 of them, and I ended up getting one Nike shirt that has like Tennessee football and Nike, and on the inside, like the brand of the shirt's not Nike, so they were like screen printed. And I was like, well, that's weird. But anyway. When I got in there, they had a bunch of like size 18 to 24 shoes, and like size 3X and 4X shorts that look like shower curtains. So it was funny.
Classic.
Classic.
So I was while you were talking there, I was looking up standings for SEC baseball, and it looks like, if I'm reading this correctly, I believe Tennessee would be the 7 seed, but could be the 8 seed as of right now. They have the same identical conference record as Auburn, who's as hot as they come right now, besides Tennessee. But they've won some big series the last 3 weeks, but we have a better overall record than they do. So I don't know if that's where they do tiebreakers for conference tournament or not. I don't know, because we do not play Auburn in the regular season this year. So we're right around that 7 to 8 seed in the SEC tournament right now. The Diamond Vols are. So that means they would take on, if they were to win a game, they'll take on somebody like a Florida or an Arkansas, LSU, Vandy type to play. So I don't know. We'll see. Next weekend's a big weekend. South Carolina's 15-11, Tennessee's 14-13. So we're 2 games back of the Gamecocks. Kentucky's a game in front of us at 15-12, even though we cut into a game of that this weekend. And then over in the West, you've got Auburn at 14-13. And then the top of that division, LSU 17-9, Arkansas 19-8. LSU's kind of slipped up here lately, but I mean, Tennessee's right there in the mix. I mean, you're talking about 4 or 5 games back of the conference leaders. Not really, in the grand scheme of things, a huge difference there. So we'll see. It's Tennessee needs, like you said, Harv, they need to go down to Columbia this weekend or this upcoming weekend. Take 2 out of 3 from the Gamecocks. And I don't know my thoughts on the SEC tournament, especially after winning it last year, if they should put a whole lot into that or not. But it would be nice if they want to host a regional in Knoxville. They need to go down there and win 2 out of 3 in Columbia.
Yeah. And you've also got to get at least to the semifinals of the SEC tournament. You might have to win it to host a regional, because how many hosts? Is it
16? I mean, they're right there on that 16 cusp. So
right, yeah, we're in the mix, but to feel comfortable about it, I mean, you got to at least be in the Final Four of the SEC tournament.
Well, the haters and losers of the week part of the show is now up, and we'll recap what we did last week and go over the nominees for last week, who was voted and won, which I apologize. I got that up. I kind of forgot about posting that, so I didn't put it up till yesterday. So I'll get that up earlier this week, but we'll see who won last week's who was last week's hater and loser of the week, and then we'll give our nominations for this week. And in a runaway, Big Montana wins, or his nominee wins, for hater and loser of the week is social media. I had to change it because you only have so many characters, but I put social media overusers, but clout chasers, 73% of the vote. My nominee, Aria Gerson, the Vanderbilt beat reporter for the Tennessean, finished second at 18%. And Harb, Red Sox haters, come in a distant third at 9%. So congrats to Big Montana.
For good reason. Big Montana, you're continuing to be on your hot streak of winning haters and losers of the week. Congratulations on that. But I have to roast myself. Maybe I threw a black cat on the Red Sox, because this is becoming it, and it's May. It's May, guys.
It's 9-1 right now.
We're getting absolutely blasted by a bad Cardinals team. Nolan Arenado just hit one to the moon about 3 minutes ago.
Yeah.
The Red Sox have won 1 game since I called out the haters and losers. After tonight, they will be 1-4 since I said that, and we're slowly getting back to reality. So I got roast myself. I deserved to come in last place for that one. I jumped the gun. I started talking about baseball before Mother's Day. It's early. There's a lot of time for a lot of teams to go one way or the other. So I will humbly take my third place, and hopefully I'll be better this week.
There you go. Sometimes you just gotta take a loss and learn from it and move on.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Big Montana, you have the stage. Since you won, you get to go first. Who is your nominee for Hater and Loser of the Week? Of which there are many.
I really thought about not doing this one today since it's Mother's Day, but I have to. And this kind of goes back with my hater and loser of last week, but this one's just a totally different one. And if you feel strongly about this, I don't know why. It's kind of weird, but my biggest hater and loser of the week are mothers who breastfeed in public and make it known that they're breastfeeding in public. Get a towel, get a blanket. We don't need to see your kid at happy hour. And then also don't post it on social media. We don't care to see your nipple in your baby's mouth on our feed. We understand that it's empowering and it's how you feed your child, but I do the same thing going through the drive-thru at McDonald's when I hand my Happy Meals to the back seat, but I don't Snapchat it. Quit being weird. It's not something that everybody wants to see, so stop it. There's rooms and places that can be done, and I get it. If you're on an airplane, hey, whatever, grab a blanket, get a towel.
There's an episode of The Office where when they merge the Stanford and Stanford and Scranton branch together, and one of the employees from Stanford's a working mother, and she actually ends up leaving pretty early on after the merger, but she's breastfeeding in the office, and Ryan is sitting there on the phone just kind of staring at her, and she says, "Take a picture, it'll last longer." And Ryan says, "It's just kind of distracting." He's on the phone making a sales call. He says it's kind of distracting, and then they go over to Creed, and Creed says, "Ditto that, my brother."
I've got to say, working in a restaurant, I see it way more often than you would think I do.
Yeah.
And I understand, like, if everybody's eating, child's got to eat. I get that, But part of me thinks do it before or after, maybe in your vehicle. I don't know. But yeah, there was one time, and this is a great story. I'll make it quick. There was this, it was an Eastern European lady, and she's a smoke show for what it's worth. She's hot. This back when I was serving, and I was at the table, and she had a small child with her, and it just so happened that Jody walked up, and a lot of y'all know Jody, but if you don't, he was a very hilarious man. In his own way, his delivery was great. But somehow he got to standing by the table while I was there. And like, we were talking about something. I don't know what it was. But mid-conversation with this lady, while me and Jody are standing there, no towel, no blanket, nothing. Just pulls her tank top down, grabs the child, puts it up, and she's just mid-sentence and just keeps talking. And the conversation Jody and I had after was one of the funniest moments I have with that man, because he looked at me and I looked at him afterwards, and we're like, do we need to talk about that? And we didn't really. But he said, Harb, I just want to let you know that I maintained eye contact the whole time. I was like a red-tailed hawk on her eyes. I never once broke eye contact, and I'd just like you to know that I'm very proud of myself. It was one of the funniest damn things that's ever happened in that building. But yeah, it's wild that women just do that, and then if you do look, they get mad.
Yeah,
That's
I
my two
wonder.
cents.
My bigger problem is the posting it online, and I would love to see the correlation, the numbers from women who do that versus the women who don't do that, and which, I would say that the women who do that, the amount of those children that were born out of wedlock is probably a lot higher.
We'll
I
have
mean,
to
yeah,
look, we'll have to look into that.
I will start to put together and conduct a study.
Yes,
this
may be on the bar.
This may be a long going study. Well, we may have to circle back to it in no, not like that. We just might have to circle back to it. That way I can
Do you know who that baby daddy is?
Ah.
I don't even know who you're talking about.
All right, Harb, I'm gonna bail you out here. Who's your hater and loser nominee of the week? Or hater and loser of the week nominee? Sorry.
I don't know. I thought about this for a little bit. I have to avenge my last place. But my biggest hater and loser of the week is Steve Kerr.
Oh yes, he's a huge loser.
Known loser, known right place, right time, top deal. Fell into a dynasty. Everybody that knows professional basketball knows that Mark Jackson built that machine, but that's a different story for a different time. After game 5, when the Lakers went up 3-1, somebody talked about the shot selection at the end of the game. I think Clay threw one up, and he was like, listen, he said it's a bad shot, but we've won a lot of games from Steph and Clay taking bad shots, so that's fine. Okay. And then everybody want to talk about game 6 Clay because of that one game he had 7 years ago. Well, Clay had 8 points in game 6. Nobody showed up except for Stephen Curry. They lose by 30. Post-game press conference after game 6. Steve Kerr, who's coached 4 NBA championships and is literally the identical roster to what it was last year when they won it. He said, this team's just not a championship team. He said, if you can't see that, I don't know what to tell you. So one, he throws his players under the bus instead of saying, I could have prepared better. I could have done this, could have done that, like every other level-headed coach would. And he just completely ignores the outside of like 1 or 2 role players that played 5 to 10 minutes a game, that this roster was literally the same exact team as the team that won it all last year. So for that reason, Steve Kerr doesn't know how to lose. However, he is my biggest hater and loser of the week.
I'm gonna vote for that. Him and Greg Popovich. I always thought a lot of those two guys, and here recently they've gone off the deep end. Like politically,
yeah.
I'm not talking about just basketball, but I don't know. They're very strange guys, very weird.
Also, real quick, the stars are aligning for Steve Kerr to dip out of Golden State. I forgot who it was on MSESPN that said it, but there's rumblings of Steve Kerr going to the Phoenix Suns. And it makes sense. Steve Kerr's from Arizona. He was the GM for the Phoenix Suns back in the day. Suns have a new owner, new management, want to make a splash. They just fired the winningest coach of the last 3 seasons, which is bonkers to me. But that ownership's trying to make a splash. They want to spend some money. I think they're going to throw a bag at Steve Kerr. Will he go? I don't know. I don't care. He's a hater and a loser. I'm not concerned about him. The only coach that I recognize is Joe Mazzulla.
Steve Kerr is more of a hater than a loser, to be honest. I mean, he's won. I know he was with Jordan and Pippen and them and won 3 titles there, and then he's coached Clay and them, but still, he's won a lot. I would
He
define
lost
him
this
more
week,
of a
though.
hater. He's a
He
hater.
lost this week.
Well, true.
Yeah. So for the week,
Well, for the week, he's a loser.
loser.
Okay, I got you. I got you.
all right, what's yours?
Mine is, I don't know how to put this one on one person, so I'm just going to say people who break up fights in NASCAR. So I don't know. Y'all probably didn't watch the race at Kansas Speedway last week, but for those that follow NASCAR, Ross Chastain, the driver of the #1 car for Trackhouse Racing, great driver, won several races last year, competed for the Cup Series title. Doing the same again this year, but he ruffles a lot of feathers on the track. He races very aggressively, races hard. Nothing wrong with that, but he does it constantly. He wrecks people every week. And it's kind of coming to a boiling point, and it actually happened today at Darlington. Kyle Larson actually T-boned him. And I haven't got to watch any of the post-race stuff, but apparently Rick Hendrick had some pretty strong words about Ross Chastain. But last week, he got into Noah Gragson, who's a rookie on the number 42 team, Richard Petty's old team, which was bought by Jimmy Johnson. And Noah Gragson a few weeks ago, I guess Chase Elliott, or he was complaining about it, and Chase Elliott said, well, why don't you do something about it? Kind of agging him on a little bit. Well, he did. Last Sunday, he goes up to old Ross and grabs him by the fire suit, and they're running their mouths, and Ross says twice, back up, let go of me, back up, let go of me, and he didn't. And Ross popped him right in the side of the left cheek.
You heard it too.
And you can hear it. It was he landed it. He landed it. But the thing I hated was you can see Noah go back to hit him.
Somebody caught him.
Yeah, there's security was standing there. They caught him, and he never really got a swing in. It's his own fault for not swinging first, but I let these guys fight a little bit. I'm not saying there's an argument on both sides. Well, we don't need them to fight. What if, somebody hits somebody and it knocks them out and they hit their head on the ground and they're seriously injured? But that can happen in any fight. But let these boys fight. I'm not saying let them just brawl. Let them get a few punches in, and when they get on the ground, then go in and break it up. Let the teams break it up. We don't need security on pit road after a race trying to break these guys up. Let them show some emotion. It's been one thing that's been wrong with NASCAR. They're robots. They show no emotion. They, instead of going out on the track or after the race, talking to each other or getting in a little scuffle or shoving each other like they used to just 10 years ago, they tweet about it, and they don't get physical anymore. I think one of my favorite ones is Tony Stewart after a race. I can't remember who wrecked him, but Steve Burns, rest in peace, asked him how he felt about it, and he said I can't remember who he's talking about. He said he's a little prick, and I'm gonna go bust his ass. And he walks. It's just funny. That's the stuff I miss about when I was growing up. NASCAR, that's how it was, and I know that's not how it is now. But it was kind of, when they showed it on TV, I was like, I perked up, and I'm like, oh crap, they're fighting. This is awesome. But Noah never got a return shot in because they broke it up too soon. Yeah. But that's my hater and loser of the week is people who break up NASCAR. I don't know who that guy was. The security guard who broke up the fight, I guess, is my nominee. But we need more of that in NASCAR.
I've said for years that NASCAR should adopt a storyline like WC or WWE, just like a soap opera, to increase their ratings, because their rating, they need to do something to save the sport.
Well, their ratings have actually been pretty good, and the sport is actually kind of turned around. The attendance is better, the ratings are better, but it's still so not
expensive to go to those races, and that's what's really killed them.
It's still not the same, and it's like Dale Jr. said, if you expect 167,000 people to come to a Bristol race today, it's not going to happen, and it's never going to go back that way. It could,
too much stuff for your dollar out there besides going to the Bristol race.
And really, I guess my hater and loser of the week next week is people who watch F1, because when we were in Auburn last week, one of Reagan's roommates, her dad and his son, her brother, are every time we're down there and they're there, they've got F1 on. And I just don't get the appeal. F1, I know why F1's popular. It's because they had a Netflix show. I mean, my sister got into F1. She doesn't watch racing. And I went to a tennis match at Tennessee last spring, and there was 2 college girls watching an F1 race. And I watch racing pretty much every week of some shape, form, or fashion. And I'll watch F1 a little bit, but it is the most boring style of racing. There's no passing. They just get in a line. The only excitement of racing is during qualifying. And I just don't get the appeal of that, but it's very popular. A lot of celebrities are going to it right now. A lot of celebrity followings. And I mean, NASCAR could get back to that. The race last week at Kansas was awesome. If you watch a race and know what's going on, it was fantastic. A lot of lead changes, a lot of strategy going on. It was really good. And this week was good too. But yeah, I want to see more of what we saw at Kansas last week. Great racing and drama after the race.
Yeah.
Here's my thought for NASCAR. NASCAR should
get them all drunk. Yeah.
Yeah, get hammered. But they need to have like a little fight pit or like a little section designated for fighting. And how it works is, if you get in a wreck and you're involved with somebody else, or if you're the person that started to hit you and you cause pile up, whatever, either every racer from those 2 teams or everybody that was involved in the wreck should cast a vote and be like, is this enough to fight over? And if the answer is yes, you give them between 30 seconds and a minute to duke it the hell out, and then get over it and just call it a day after that. And you televise the whole damn thing. And you have people around it, not to break it up, just to make sure neither one of them run away.
Like a lumberjack match.
Absolutely. A lumberjack match. Yes. I think that would be incredible. I think a lot of the thing is that people have quit watching is a lot of the drivers are kind of pussies now, for the most part. It's getting a little better than where it was, but
they're robots. They're robots.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah.
And 2,
you add a little bit of humanism to it, it will go so far.
Well, and 2, NASCAR has kind of they've neutered them a little bit, because you had like an incident earlier in the year where Denny Hamlin went on his podcast and pretty much admitted to wrecking somebody. This was he recorded it on a Monday, came out on, like late Monday night, Tuesday. They fined him later that week and took points from him because of it. So now if they're wrecking somebody, they're just like, my tire was going down, or my steering locked up, or so you don't get that. Like, I ran him into the wall. He's a prick.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't get that anymore because they're afraid they're going to get fined and lose points, and that could come back to haunt them later in the season.
That's extremely soft from NASCAR.
It is.
That's very disappointing to hear, because there was a point in my life where I watched it quite a bit. I was never a huge avid fan by any means, but if it was on Sunday, I would at least flip it on for a little bit. But I'm just not going to watch it anymore until they're going to have to do something.
My mom actually enjoyed it. My mom actually enjoyed it today because it was Throwback Sunday, and they had Richard Petty on, and Richard Petty was telling all these old stories, and my mom was like, who is that? And I said, that's Richard Petty. And she said, why don't they have him on there more often? He was literally just rambling about stuff, and his son, Kyle Petty, was on there. He kept having to cut him off, but Richard's like 83 or 4 years old now. So, but anyways, hater and loser. Go ahead, Harbin. Sorry.
No, you're good. Just while we're kind of still talking, I've got to say this. Final round of the Live Golf tournament was today. in between quarters and at halftime and before the Celtics game started, I was watching it. The leaderboard was incredible today. The leaderboard is exactly what Liv wanted. All in like the top 10. You had Dustin Johnson, Cameron Smith, Bubba Watson, Bryson DeChambeau, Brooks Koepka, Joaquin Neiman, Abe Answer, HV3, Harold Varner III. Yeah, it was loaded.
Wow.
And they were all within like 5 or 6 shots of each other. So I quit watching for a little bit because it was the second half of the Celtics game. Come to find out, there was a weather delay. So broadcast took a little bit longer. Well, when 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time hit, the CW switched to Modern Family with 2 holes to play.
Oh my gosh.
DJ and Cam Smith were tied in the same group.
So could you go somewhere else? Could you go to like CW Plus and watch it? Or
I have no idea. I don't know. But
wow.
CW, do better.
Failing
that's
CW.
why you still run Riverdale.
Failing CW.
I mean, literally the most exciting finish of Live Golf to its history. You cut over to around here, it was Modern Family, but there was also damn Penn and Teller. I was reading about it on Twitter. Like somebody in Jersey that switched over to fucking Penn and Teller reruns. It was like all these random things. But the bad thing is that what tells me is all those reruns of shows draw more viewers than Live Golf. And that hurts because I watched it and it was very entertaining. It was good. It was good golf. Like,
shout out to a listener of this show, Nicholas Bernard, big Live supporter. I found out this weekend. We were playing up at Dandridge National Golf and Country Club, which is not in good shape right now, by the way, in my opinion. MIHO. But well, as we were leaving the parking lot, Nick was talking highly about Live. I've not really checked it out much. Just because I don't really watch golf on a weekly. I mean, I will glance at it just to see who's where, but I don't sit down and watch it. Like this upcoming weekend's the PGA Championship, so I'll definitely watch that as it's a major. But like I kind of watched the Byron Nelson a little when I got home Friday afternoon just to see who was doing what. But I just have not sat down and watched the Live. I need to give it a shot because I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. Like we talked about a few weeks ago, all the beer cans they threw out on the. I mean, I get it. It's cool. It's fun.
I mean, they do that every year at the Waste Management. Nobody bats an eye.
I know.
Really cool.
I know. And we do that at the Straw Plains Invitational too. So
absolutely. And we always pick it all up.
But we always pick up our trash and throw it away.
Yes.
Except our cigarette butts.
There's a couple things with the broadcast that I'm not a huge fan of, but I mean, it's still very young and they'll work on things, or if they decide to stick with it, that's fine. One thing that I do think is really cool, when they're hitting a drive, it had like fairly faintly. The first time you watch it, you might think it's annoying, but now I think it's cool. Like it'll have like the middle will be green. The right side will be red or the left side will be yellow, just depending on what it is. And it's like if a tee shot goes right, the average score is 4.39 on this par 4. And if you go left, it's 4.1. But if you hit it down the middle, it's 3.8 today. Pretty easy. And like shit like that. And
I do like that. That is good.
Yeah, it was cool. And they have graphics on the green. Like it'll have the aim point and how the putt's going to travel. If it's hit perfectly, top deal. It's cool. I like it. Some people think it's tacky and ugly. I think it's kind of cool.
Can you imagine a feature like that or statistics like that on the Straw Plains Invitational?
Oh God, that would be something.
Hit it down the hole number 1 at Katichi. Great hole, great visual hole. That par 5 down the hill. It slopes left to right. Like everybody's all over the place for the most part. Like, what's the average score? Go left, it's this score. Go right, it's that score. Down the middle, what's the score? It'd be interesting to see stuff like that.
I've played that hole 5 times, and I think I've found my tee ball twice.
I usually I usually fare pretty well on that hole. I usually end up hitting the fairway and having to lay up, and then going down there and 2-putting for a par, or more than likely 3-putting for a bogey. So I do like that hole though. I like the layout of it. Longer par 5. No one can get there in 2 because there's a bunch of junk right in front of between the fairway and the hole. So great hole in my opinion.
Very, very solid golf hole.
Makes you think. So hater and losers of the week nominees, Big Montana's is mothers or women who breastfeed in public. Harbs is, who was yours again? Oh, Steve Kerr. And mine is breaking up NASCAR fights. So maybe not one person in particular, but a group of people. So we'll post that here. We'll give it a day or two for the show to cycle through the airwaves, and then we'll get that posted. News and notes segment. I was just reading as it went away off my phone. Lady Vols win 5 medals, earn best finish in program history at Big 12 championship. I said Big 12 championship. Tennessee's not in the Big 12, but they are in rowing. There's not an SEC rowing. Tennessee's in the Big 12 in rowing. I knew that. But I didn't put 2 and 2 together when I was reading the tweet. It says here the Lady Vols won medals in all 5 races for the first time since joining the league and earned its best ever finish at the championship, placing 2nd overall. They brought home a pair of silver and 3 bronze medals on the day, marking the 2nd time Tennessee medaled in all of its races at the Big 12 championship after only 4 boats competed at the 2021 regatta. Shout out to the Lady Vols rowing team. Lady Vols across the board, great weekend. Lady Vols softball, Lady Vols rowing, they're killing it.
Shout out to the oars.
Shout out
to the oars.
All right. It's Mother's Day. We're tired. We're going to end the show here. Final thoughts. Anybody? No final thoughts?
Hope everybody had a good day with your mothers today. If you're blessed enough to still have yours around. I had a great day. It was a beautiful day for the most part. We had some spotty showers. Some people got hit, some people didn't. Just nice to be around family, for whatever the occasion may be. Hope y'all had a good one, and let's carry this momentum into this week. The haters and losers couldn't say much if we all had the greatest Monday of all time, could they?
I love your Snapchats. What if we had the greatest whatever day it is in the history books?
I mean, what would they say? They couldn't.
What would they say?
Yeah, and even if you don't, you still had a really good one. Just aiming for that. So let's try to have the greatest week in the history of weeks this week.
Yeah,
that's my thoughts.
I hope I do. I hope you do.
Yeah. Thank you. You too.
Good.
That's all I got.
Good. Shout out to a couple people. The Doties listened to the podcast on the way back from the beach this weekend. So thanks for listening to all the Doties, the whole household. Lady Hornets softball got a big game Monday night this week at Halls. Coach Burkhart, Coach Grubb. Hopefully have the ladies ready to play, win 1 game, and you got 2 more. I think if they win Monday, they will host at Carter High School one day this week for the region championship. I think if I looked at the bracket correctly. So if you're out in Halls and you're bored, go watch the Lady Hornets and the Lady Red Devils on Monday night. The young Lady Hornets, they're very young. Good group of girls, though. But that's all I got this week. Big Montana, you got anything?
Boys go Vols this weekend. Let's finish the week out. Let's finish the season out. Let's sweep the Gamecocks. Leave no room for doubt. I'm excited, man. I'm ready for football season. I'm so excited for football season. Paid for my tickets this week, niece, so you can go out to eat again.
I can pay my electric bill.
I thought you'd like just a random $500 sent to you Venmo. I wish somebody send me $500 without telling me. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, sitting there at work, and I heard my phone ding, and I looked down at it about 5 minutes later and said, "Zach Bowling has sent you $500." And I was like, "Oh,
what a swell guy!"
That was the best day of the week, like Harbin said.
I'm just trying to listen. I'm just trying to start it off, boys.
Helping people.
Yeah,
that's right.
Just,
support your brothers.
Yeah. But I think I saw something, and we won't talk much about football, but until after baseball and softball's over. But I think Tennessee projected wins this year was like 8.9 or something. So basically 9. So that would put Tennessee at 9-3, and that's about where we said last year. I mean, Big Montana had Tennessee at 10. I had Tennessee at 9. They ended up winning 11 after all was said and done, but 10 regular season games. But I can see Tennessee doing that. Again, it just depends on how these new faces fit in, and quarterback position is key, obviously. A lot of new wide receivers, a little bit of change on the offensive and defensive line. Is the secondary any better? But I think Tennessee's right there. They shouldn't fall off and be 6-6 or 5-7 or anything like that. They should be winning anywhere from 8 to 10 games from here on out. Now Heupel's kind of got his thing established, so we'll see. That's I actually watched when I went to bed the other night. I turned on the DVR and watched the Orange Bowl, or part of it, till I fell asleep. But I'm interested to see what this team looks like as they go into the summer and head into fall camp, because there's going to be a lot of excitement around this program. Most season tickets they've sold in years, 70-something thousand. Starting on the road in Nashville versus Virginia. Big group of YY8 followers are going to be out there. Listener of the show, Tyler Hooper, messaged me on the gram the other night, slid in my DMs, and was talking about tailgating out there in Lot A at historic Nissan Stadium. And he's talking about getting some flags made. And he said, "Boys, you might have a YY8 flag flying there." And I was like, "Oh, here we go."
Tell him to order an extra one, because I want one for the man.
We're going to plant our YY8 flag at Nissan Stadium.
Absolutely. What a great idea.
What a great idea. I'll follow up on that. I did tweet it the other night. Could there be a YY8 flag coming this year? I never even thought about making a YY8 flag, but
brilliant idea.
Get that logo on a flag and fly it.
We need more stickers too.
Oh, I got plenty of stickers. Plenty of stickers. But we'll bring more of them this year. And I did talk to my uncle last weekend. He's going to get some more JWTDG stickers ordered. He actually put his on his cooler from each game that he wore, the Bama game and the Orange Bowl, and wrote the score on it. But the Sharpie, it doesn't stay on very good, but it's kind of cool. He had it on his cooler of the date and the score of the game. That was pretty cool. All right. Well, that's this week's show. Harbin, you got something before we head out?
I got one more, just real quick. Forgot to. Gotta give a special shout out, listener of the show, Jake Minot. His college athletics career has now come to an end. Gotta give a shout out on a very, very, very good career. Now has the program record at Carson Newman for most rounds played. I think that's really cool.
Wow, that is cool.
It's 120 something. Which you think about, it's a lot. So shout out to Jake. Great career. Pretty damn good for a boy from Straw Plains. Got some big things coming up. Not going to air you out too much, but big things on the horizon. We'll see how it goes. So shout out to Jake. You've made Straw Plains proud.
Shout out Jake and also Big E.
And Big E. Big E.
They both, I assume did Jake graduate, or is he still?
Yeah, Jake graduated last year. He's doing his master's now.
That's right. So shout out to both of those good guy, good kids, good youngins, and represented the Hornets well. I just saw that Jake had set the record for most rounds played at Carson Newman.
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome. So, all right. Well, that's this week's show. The Celtics are taking on the Heat at some point this week to start the Eastern Conference Finals. Big Montana and Harb is fired up for that. I'll try to watch just to keep up with it. I need to get.
We need to get together for some watch parties, man.
We do. When's game one?
I have no idea. Probably Wednesday.
Yeah, I know the Lakers and Nuggets are Tuesday. So it could be Tuesday or Wednesday. But yeah, I'm in. If schedules align, we'll definitely do it.
If schedules and the stars align.
Schedules and stars, baby.
Appreciate everybody listening. Remember, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. We're on YouTube, so you can go in there and watch us. Viewership is steadily ticking up. I know it's the spring and summer months, so a lot going on, but it's slowly trickling up as we get toward football. But appreciate everybody listening. Remember, piss on ESPN and the Heisman Trophy. Piss on them. And that's it. That's this week's show. Appreciate everybody listening. Remember to vote for Hater and Loser of the Week on Twitter. And we will see you guys next week on the Section YY8 podcast.